Divine Sunshine, and this is the Playground Experience. I have here with my lovely co-host, April Williams and Kathy D. And we have our own special guest here, Angel Simmons.
Hey, happy Friday.
Happy Friday! Happy Friday! Yes, yes, yes. So we came up with the topic of talking about, especially when we're talking about divine relationships and how. Can you turn your music down just a smidgen, Will April, for me? Just a smidge. Okay, thank you. Okay, so we're talking about also about the understanding of relationships, and when we're talking about twin flame relationships or divine or soulmates like that, we have a tendency to always stay into the spiritual thing, but we don't keep ourselves leveled in understanding that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. We've got to understand both dynamics in going in this. So the reason why I invited Angel to come was for her to talk about how we can be able to marry the two and understanding that sometimes experiences that we've had in past experiences or relationships, rather than with a love interest or just a regular Joe Blow off the street or family members or either people, employees, as she mentions in the book, ministers, teachers, even. She even got parts in there about me, and teachers, period. Not me. I'm not the narcissist teacher. Let me clarify that. But it's all in there. So you see how narcissism is being expressed in all ways of life and how that affects us, especially us being empaths, at being able to soak up that energy and how we attract those certain people to us and how to be able to get over and heal from those relationships so we can move on into having a healthy relationship. So that's the reason why I have Angel on here tonight. And so I'm going to have her talk about the book. She has two books that she has here that has been of interest that I've been like eating up. We got The Target of Love that she has here, Surviving Narcissistic Abuse. This is one of her books as well. And I talked about this the other night when I did my reading. I told you all need to run, not walk to get this book. And then we have Love's Great Design as well, which is a devotional of 52 weeks devotional, which is really, really good. And I said that when you all get into the Sunshine Circle, I wanted you all, these are two mandated books that I want you to read so it can help you to do that. So I know at the beginning of the book, you talk about, Angel, what inspired you to write the book? First of all, I know you're saying you're teaching and you've seen some things, some warning signs of narcissistic abuse, and as you was talking to people, but just tell them a little bit about how did you get into this to be in this book?
Well, first, thank you all for having me on the show. Thank you for inviting me to the playground. It is great to be in the company of such beautiful, enlightened women on a Friday night, cold Friday night. It's warm in here. I tell you that. It's warm in here. This book, Target of Love, was a journey. It was a journey for me. It started as a healing from some narcissistic relationships and finally recognizing that that's what they were and that's what they were in. And part of my healing started with teaching on it. So as I began to study narcissism and personality disorders, I started teaching other people. And I was posting on Instagram. I did an entire month where I was posting about narcissism and red flags and warning signs and things like that. And my inbox just blew up. And there were people that I knew that I didn't know that much about. There were people who were perfect strangers that were messaging me at 4 a.m, like, oh my God, I needed to see this. I think this is what I'm in. Where can I go to get help? And it was very akin to domestic violence situations. A lot of the strangers that were contacting me. And after that month of teaching, I kind of started posting a few things on Facebook, and people started contacting me on Facebook and sending me messages. And I believe the next year was when I first discovered World Narcissism Abuse Awareness Day. And I had never heard of that holiday before, nor did I know it was that many people in the world that have been struggling. And all these support groups that were connected to that. And I went live. I did a whole live teaching on that particular day. And God was just speaking to me as I was talking, like, you need to write all this down. Everything you've been saying, you need to write down. I blew it off. I was working on 2 other books. And then I dropped this year. Last year, it's 2020. It's a new year now. We're in a new year. So 2020, as I was preparing to release a different book around February, I was reminded, I was getting constant reminders. I said, write it down. You need to write it down. There are people that need this. And that's where this came from. And I made the announcement on World Narcissist Awareness Day. I made the announcement that day that the book was being released. And it was released in July. So that was the journey with this.
Yes. And so when you're talking about, and I was reading it, like I told you, I whizzed through it in one night. I mean, this is a page turner, and I'm not a person I always say about reading. I'm like, I write an audio book, but I mean, I was turning the page and really, like I told her before we got on here, I was like doing a checklist of people like, that sound like this person, that sound like this person. I ran into this person, this minister was like this, this teacher was like this. And so just giving us just a brief understanding, because even with my mom, she was like, I never heard of narcissism until really Trump came along. Excuse me if you're a Trump lover. But again, but she's like, I've never heard of that before. So what is narcissism? What is it?
Well, narcissism is typically defined as egoism. If you think about somebody who's always concerned about their ego, their image, things like that, but it is an excessive admiration of self, where it's all about selfishness, arrogance, sense of entitlement, anything that you can attach to that would be narcissism. If we're talking about the personality disorder, that's where we go into all the medical and biological terms there. That is an actual personality disorder that's characterized by 9 specific characteristics. So everybody that has a tendency towards narcissism is not someone with narcissistic personality disorder. I think most of us have experienced times where we've been extremely selfish and felt entitled and were arrogant and concerned about our ego. So we've all experienced narcissism at some point to some degree, but we have not all been diagnosed with that personality disorder. And this goes back to a long-term pattern of behavior. So someone that has a personality disorder, this is something that they've been struggling with or suffering with for years, decades, probably most of their life, and they just had not addressed it or had not been recognized as that.
Now, do you believe that this narcissistic disorder can actually be a trait passed down or a learned trait? Say if they had a parent that was like that, and that they can pick that up from them and, kind of carry it on?
I do believe narcissistic behavior can be a learned trait. And that's really what it is. It's a pattern of behavior. That's what it is. So if you've been doing the same thing the same way all the time, there's something in our brains, because our brains are chemical, because they're very plastic, because they develop these pathways when we do things a certain way all the time. That's the path. They take that path every time. This is what they're used to. That's why they tell you if you want to change your behavior, you have to do something for 21 days, or you have to do something for so long so that it will change your behavior. Then your behavior starts to go towards that way. So if you've been doing the same thing, if you've been treating people like crap all your life, you've been talking down to people, if you've been in a house with someone with a huge ego and someone who was selfish and that's all they cared about, that's a pattern you would pick up as a child in that house or a sibling in that house if that's what you've been around, if you're not taught to do anything different. So I do believe part of it is learned behavior, but it's also something that's biological. It's also something that's just embedded. It becomes embedded in our brains, and that's the tendency that people will always lean towards if they're not taught to do anything different, or nothing happens where they have to do anything different. So if no one checks them, no one challenges them, if there are no consequences to that behavior, they'll continue to do what they've been doing.
Well, since the society has pretty much promoted the onslaught of, and that's why you now hear consistently narcissism and narcissistic abuse. What can we do as the individual upon sight? Like, so because we're so used to it and we have a certain tolerance for it, how can we when trigger within ourselves, this is how we need to shield up or protect ourselves or be just aware of the situation? Because I often find a majority of twin flames, they're very empathic, they're very sensitive, they're very caring, very giving, and we have this sense of imbalanced femininity in society, right? As well as how do we stand up um, in that alpha state or that masculine state and still identify narcissistic abuse, right? Basically, how do we balance that? What are our first steps to not take it? Because we've seen, oh, mom took it for so long, or dad took it for so long, or, we saw grandma deal with it. So we can just put up with it too, right? Now we're saying, no, we're not going to tolerate that anymore. Right. So what can we do, or what are our first signs to even know that we are in a state of being abused narcissist from a narcissist?
Well, you use the word that's very, very important in this conversation, tolerance. And when I think about the word tolerance, I think about abuse. I think about civil rights. I think about the civil rights movement. I think about racism. I think about a lot of things that people have tolerated for so long. And the first step is not to tolerate it. When we want to change someone's behavior, the first change is us. You're the first change. You're the first point of contact in recognizing this doesn't feel good. This doesn't feel good. I feel less than in these situations. I should never feel less than in these situations, and I need to do something different. The first change is you in recognizing, okay, I can no longer tolerate what makes me feel less than. And that is the doorway to the change of changing someone else's behavior, because they see, okay, you're responding differently. And I talk about this somewhere in here. I don't even know what chapter, but there's the first response is you. It will be to you, because they will recognize, and I'm saying they meaning the narcissistic abuser, whatever you want to call them, they will recognize immediately the change in your response to them. And that is what's going to trigger, okay, something's wrong here. She's not doing what I'm used to. She's not doing what I ask. She's not jumping when I call. She's not moving fast enough. Why I haven't gotten a response back. She's not texting me back quick enough. She didn't come when I call. They'll notice that. I've been making comments. She's not reacting. She's not getting upset. She's not crying. She's not cursing me out. Okay, what's going on? It will trigger something in them to ask questions about themselves. Okay, what did I do? Or am I doing something differently? Is she doing something differently? And that is typically what will promote the change, whether they're trying to conform so that you will continue to respond how they want you to, or whether they'll discard you and find someone who will. And that's true in ministry. It's true in romantic relationships. It's true in work relationships. They'll find someone else to pick on. It's very akin to bullying. Abuse is very akin to bullying. You don't react, they find someone to react. Because what they live for is that reaction. There's something in the narcissist that needs chaos. They need stimulation. They need constant stimulation. You're not stimulating them, they're going to find it somewhere else, or they're going to figure out how to get it back.
There's the one life coach online, I've seen her, and she uses the technique. She says, shuddy. And I can't remember her name right offhand, but it started because when she would get the text messages from her ex-husband, she said it was so long ago they had flip phones, and she just knew it was time to shut that flip phone.
I
just
love
shut it,
flip phones.
and she would just shut it, and that would be, that began her control again over her life. And then at home, when he would start, she would just shut her mouth. She said she didn't play into it. She just And for anybody going through this, I can speak firsthand on this. That is probably the strongest thing you can do, is have no reaction and just let them argue with themselves.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think I seen in the book that you was talking about for empaths, going back to that, is like a relationship with the empath is like a jackpot. Can you, they say, oh, I hit gold. Can you expound a little bit more on that? Of trying empaths would do that?
Oh my gosh. Every empath I know, or anyone with any empathic tendencies, they feel everything. We were talking before this started. Helper, fixer. If you think about those two words, I'm always trying to help. I'm always trying to fix something. Um, Empaths are known for meeting the needs of the people. And typically they meet that need before you even know you need it. I see you, I know what you need. Let me fix it. Let me fix it. I'm gonna help and I'm gonna fix. That's what I'm gonna do. So if someone is not responding to you in a loving way, and all you are love, and all you're giving out is love, so I need to get some more love. Let me put some more love on it. Got to put a little more love on it. And you're going overboard, you're bending over backwards, you're jumping through hoops, you're walking on eggshells, trying to get a response back that you would give. And it's never going to happen because they're not you, first of all. They're not even made up that way. Chemically impossible. They're not going to react to you the way you react to other people. And, typically empaths struggle in friendships and other kind of family dynamic relationships for that same reason. Because I'm not getting back what I'm giving to you because I'm always giving 199.7%.
Yeah, that's true.
And folks are
Why
giving
you telling all my stuff on the airline? Why you telling
I know, I know.
99.7.
Just putting all this out there, putting us out there.
That's what they're giving, and you want to see that reciprocity. You want to see that reciprocated action, and it never comes back the way you give it unless you meet somebody that's like you. And then we're not talking about a narcissist anymore. So that's a whole nother thing. But if you're dealing with a narcissist, in the beginning, they may mirror your behavior to get you interested and make you think, oh, he's like me, or she's like me, or they're like me, or oh, okay, this is great. This will be a great connection. At some point, they start sucking you dry, and they're using all of that love you get. Let me put some more love on it. They want you. Come on, give me some more. And they're just taking. Narcissists are typically they're takers, where empaths are givers. So there will never be a balance in their relationship. There will always be a push and pull, and the majority of their giving is specific to getting something from you. They want more of what you're giving them, and they're gonna give you the sprinkle of crumbs, that's okay, that you will tolerate, just enough crumbs so you will continue to tolerate what they're doing and how they're treating you, so that you can continue to give them what they need.
Then in the book you mentioned also about isn't that almost the opposite, the love bombing, where you giving, but that's just the way to kind of suck them in, when you just over like, oh my God, he doing this, child, and I like this, and you saying
And
that.
he
So that
knows
was
I like this, and he knows you like it, or she knows you like it because they've been studying you. They studied you. You're a project. They study you long enough to see what you like, what you love, what you're interested in, what makes you feel good, what you talk about, what you post on social media, what you tell your friends. They get just enough information to give you all of that to get you where they want you. And it sounds criminal, it sounds terrible. And they sometimes they don't know they're doing it, especially if we're talking about uh, biological things that are in the brain and all those pathways we talked about earlier. But they know what they're getting. Even if they don't know what they're doing, they know what they're getting and know how to get it.
yeah,
And that's
that's what
typically how
got
it
me.
starts.
that's what got me is that I always thought that it was just more of an attitude that you just adapted, like Kathy D say, through family. You seen them do it that way. But when I read in the book and seen and I looked at the video, and it was, you said that no, it's brain. It's a brain functioning. It's a brain, what you say,
It's a
connectivity
disorder.
dysfunction.
Yeah, it's a dysfunction. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That is
That
right.
that,
And
that blew my
and
mind. I never did think that.
and
I
some
thought
of
that
the
was
and
just
some of the studies that they've done, if you look at the brain of a narcissist, is typically smaller. The brain of an abuser is typically smaller than a normal person. There are studies that show, there are medical studies that show this. Their brains are different. They're shaped different. The size is different. Whether or not it was ingrained, learned behavior that they picked up from family, or because they've been doing this all the time and this is how they get what they want. Either way it goes, it changes the structure of their brains.
Now, let's say you're awakening to your own narcissistic behavior or your own narcissistic abuse, right? Because if you've observed it, odds are pretty good from family growing up, odds are pretty good that you have a tendency to go on either side of the spectrum of either being prone to being abused or prone to abusing, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then the balance of that dynamic in your interaction with other human beings throughout your relationships. So if you're in a
Mm-hmm.
state of healing that side of yourself, let's say, um, you want to be, how would be a good stepping stone into becoming less narcissistic?
Acknowledging the
I'm sorry, I'm
behavior
laughing because
is
it's just like it's hard for me to relate to.
it
It's
is.
hard for me to
It,
relate to. But I
I
see
get
the
you, but
act, right? The act of healing, right? Because
mhm,
I don't want to just throw away the baby with the bathwater, right? Yeah, you can learn your
absolutely.
lessons on somebody else, or you can learn them yourself, right? And if you're stepping into that light of becoming the best possible you, what would be some ways?
And it does happen. It's less than 5%. I believe it's 4 to 5% of narcissists that are actually diagnosed by a medical
Okay.
professional. But of that 4 to 5%, it might be 2% that seek out treatment. Typically, the seekers of treatment are only seeking because of the consequences if they don't. They'll lose a
yes.
job, they'll lose family, they'll lose access to their children, they'll lose their spouse, their loved one, their wife. They're that's the consequence for them. They're fighting that consequence. So their reasoning may be off for why they decide to get treatment. Um, but just acknowledging that fact is the biggest step, because the narcissist is driven by that ego. There's nothing wrong with me. Something's wrong with you. I don't have a problem. You have a problem. So the fact that they've even recognized, okay, I'm doing something wrong that's hurting my partner, that's hurting my friend, that's hurting my child, other people. I need to get help. Therapy, counseling, treatment. There is all those things available. It's typically difficult for a medical profession to diagnose someone with narcissistic personality disorder who does not believe they have an issue or a problem, because they know what to say. You know, Remember, this behavior is what gets them through life. So anything that'll get them out of a sticky situation, they already know. They're
Mm-hmm.
going to say whatever they need to say to get out of their chair, to get out of their office. Oh, this person is fine. It must be their partner. Maybe someone else is acting irrationally. Maybe let's look at something else, because the other person is in the meantime manic. Like, okay, I've been suffering, I've been struggling, I'm dealing with this. Fix him, fix him. Please do something, or fix
Mhm.
her, or do something. They're like, okay, calm down. And now you look like you the one with the issue,
You don't
because
want to be down.
they've sat in the office in therapy as calm and cool as a cucumber, um, saying all the right things and making
And make you
conversation,
look,
and absolutely, and making you look like you're the irrational one.
you are, yeah, making you look like you are crazy as a bed bug. And actually, if you've been in it
Crazy
long
as
enough,
crazy as a
you
vegetable.
have been, now you have convinced yourself you are,
Absolutely.
because because there's
No one
no
else
way
sees it.
you didn't. And just like you said, it's that love and give and fix. And, well, if I loved more, if I was a better wife, if I was a better mother, if I was, if I was a better partner, if I did this
More
better, if I
love.
did
Put some
that
more love
better.
on it. Put some more
Yeah.
love on
There
it.
was more love on it. And it's anything but unconditional love. They'll say it. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'll never do that again. I am so sorry. Oh, I understand you don't like when I talk to you like that. I'm so sorry. Yeah, until the next time they're not getting their way, and it comes right back to it. And that's where the difference between unconditional and conditional love.
And it's absolutely love with a narcissist will always be conditional because it's based
Hmm.
on what you can do for them.
Hmm.
What can you do for them? And if you can't do it, they'll find somebody else who will. And
And
that's
I know
true in every dynamic of the relationship.
I
Well,
have
let's.
found with this, it's hard to get help for this. When you do go and you explain that this is verbal or this is an emotional abuse situation, a lot of times you're looked at, especially if especially if you have a degree or you're in business and you look like you got it together on the outside. And, a lot of times you're just kind of told, suck it up. It'll be all right. You'll be okay. You can handle it. And it's really hard because that, like you said, they see this person that looks like they're just perfect. It's got to be you. There must be something wrong with you. And there's so many different ways that the abuse can happen with the financial and emotional and mental. And it's a really wicked um, situation to be in.
And finding counselors and therapists that specialize in
Hmm.
personality disorders is the ticket. Because just going to a regular medical doctor, they don't study that. They don't study that. They don't study the brain. They don't study uh, behavior disorders or personality disorders. Then their experience and their advice will be very limited. So finding
Hmm.
specialists specifically for that is the key.
Now, you've come a long way. I mean, you're so strong, and, after surviving this type of abuse, what would you say are some steps for recovering, for forgiving the self on that one? Because, you beat yourself up for everything that you've didn't do, right? In that kind of situation, to get yourself out earlier. So,
I
what are
think
some steps?
when you start studying it and educating yourself, forgiveness comes quick. It comes really quick because prior to really digging into what it is and what the disorder does and how it looks and how it feels, yeah, you're as as an empathic person, you're feeling all of that anyway. So
Mm.
it's not just guilt; it's guilt on top of
Yeah.
detachment, and feeling and regret and everything else. But when you start studying the disorder, that is the quickest way for you to find your own healing. It's like, okay, this this has nothing to do with me. None of that had anything to do. There's absolutely nothing I could have done differently. I couldn't have
But
gave more. I couldn't have given any less because of who I am, and that's that. Making sure
oh,
you have a support system around you, friends, sisters, your circle, whatever you call them, that you can talk to and be open and honest about it. Even talking to people that knew you when you were in those relationships, ex co-workers, ex friends from the church, and letting them know, you know what, hey, I know we haven't really had this conversation before, but this is why I left. And this is why I left. This is what I can't have. This is what I no longer will tolerate. And
mm,
if someone else is in that situation, it might be help for them to break out
mm.
to see that you were able to walk away and you still got all your marbles intact.
So, there's so many different things that are coming into my energy at the same time, and I'm like, oh, this is so cool, right? Because we're looking at a whole society that's got a ton of mental illness, like layers upon layers of different things that people are now just allowing themselves to have a conversation about, right? Like, since we all experienced at least one, maybe two, sometimes three lockdowns, we have been able to get up and close and personal with all the sides of people, and all the shadows are coming out. So what are some ways? Well, one, can you hold up your book again? Because I know we all need to buy it. I need a refresher. Anybody? Yes.
I just ordered mine, so it'll be here in 3 days. It said.
It did not.
All right.
I say that.
Hey, can someone put a link in the chat? We go.
It's right there. It's under
put the link
the bottom.
It's at the bottom.
Yeah,
Run, go get it. And she autographed it too. She wrote it on Amazon book. She said it will not be autographed by her if you go to Amazon. So make sure.
I don't know what it's gonna look like if you get it from Amazon, but if you get it from my house,
you might even get it personally dropped off too.
You might. And if by chance you order both of them before the 31st, it comes with a free gift, which is this lovely heart locket here that has the lava stone, so you can add your own essential oils. I'm lavender today, so it comes, if you order both of them, it comes with a lovely locket you can personalize.
Okay, let's see. Do you have the ability? Oh wait, here they go. I'm looking for it. Do you have the ability to order them both at the same time, or you just fill your cart?
Yes,
yeah, you can put them in your cart.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so excited. I'm excited, and I'm I'm ready to buy. Here we go.
I just bought, didn't even know about the free gift. I'm
doing a bunch of stuff at the same time, April.
I am. You see me over here. My baby's asleep, so let me try to do the 5 things I can do. Okay, I'm just gonna
ask the question. What is the disorder on the table? We're discussing narcissistic personality disorder at this moment.
Yeah. So are men or women more narcissistic?
Men. Men are primarily more likely to be narcissistic or show that behavior, those behaviors, than women. The women are. There are women that are diagnosed, but we're talking 70-30, maybe. If that, I mean, I think I'm being generous with the 30, but 70% would likely be male.
And the women that are diagnosed with it, they are so covert with it. It's not usually a very out in kind of where men are more out and in your face kind of with it. Women are more underlining and manipulative with it.
How
yes.
Can you give me an example? How would that actually look? Can I get an example?
Controlling by guilt.
I'm just kidding.
I'm thinking of a controlling parent. I've had conversations, and there is a story in a book about controlling mother. But controlling parents, if you have a mother who typically favors one child over the other, that's usually where you'll see that covertism. It's manipulation. You're trying to do everything to get her attention. You're trying to make sure you're an A student, and you went to college and got a degree, and they're still favoring that son who can't keep a job. Listen, it's it is typically something that you would see with the parents, and if it's a mother, then that manipulation, using the grandkids against you, or showing up to be the better mother. They get better birthday gifts from grandma. She shows up with the latest phone and laptop and those boots you said that they couldn't have. She has to prove that she's a better mother than you. She wasn't a good mother to you, so she has to be the mother to your grandchildren, to her grandchildren.
So in terms of like these aspects, we're looking at healing not only our own self, we're looking at healing ancestral wounds and maybe even past life reoccurrences, stuff like that, in terms of who wants to win, right? in terms of that fight of the masculine and the feminine, and the vengeance, because I feel like there's a lot of the only example I could think of is like Water for Chocolate. Have you ever seen or heard
I
that book or
have.
that movie?
I've read the
It's
book
been
and
a
saw
long
the
time.
movie. It's been a
Okay.
long time. Yes. Been a
So
long time.
where they feel like, oh well, why should they have a better life than I have had?
Mm.
So to suck that away, um, and I know what's also coming up too, jargon, imposter syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of that ties into that narcissistic dynamic of giving that power away, not even being able to have the confidence to say, I can show you this way. I can be me. I can show up as me authentically without giving my power to another individual. Now, I grew up in a very abusive household with the addictive parent. Everything's smoothed itself out. It's totally switched itself around because that's what happens in the process, right? Of healing. I guess in terms of working through trauma, because I noticed that you do a lot of counseling, you also do acting, you do all kinds of really cool stuff. Would you say that what in your life really inspired you to kind of keep moving forward as Angel Simmons, right? Because each of us want to show up authentically as ourselves. And you went through something extremely traumatic, and sometimes we can't see the forest for the trees. So how did you really set forward writing all these books, getting what was the award that you won? Elite Hottie of the Year? That wasn't it.
I like that
Wait,
title
I
better.
take
I
it.
like that title better.
I take it. Where's the Roy show?
I like that title better. For me, it would have to be faith. It would have to be my faith. I've been in ministry the majority of my life. Whether I went from being a youth in youth ministry and a dancer in dance ministry to being the youth minister and the dance choreographer and the young adult minister. And I've always been working with people who had brokenness. And it was something that I saw. And it was particularly interesting to see. And I talk about this, I believe, in the introduction of Love's Great Design, working in ministry and working with broken people and seeing this all the time, and how we have to maintain our faith, grow our faith, increase our faith, because that's it. That was the only thing for me. Knowing that I had a purpose, knowing that I had an assignment to inspire other people, knowing I was put here to encourage women, to encourage youth, to be a mentor to youth. My assignment has always been greater than my pain. So for me, faith,
There you go.
that
Hey,
faith is
woo!
just like that.
Assignment. Woo! I
I got
love that.
something
I
to
love.
do. I can cry on the couch for 3 days, but on day 4, I got shit to do. Let's get up.
Yep.
We gotta move. We gotta move. We still gotta go to work. You still
Right.
gotta finish a book because you done told people you got a book. Now you gotta finish it. And some of the ways that I hold myself accountable is by making those announcements. When I made that announcement on June 1st, the book is coming soon. I knew people weren't gonna let me sleep. And as scary as it was, this book was terrifying to write because I had to go back, and there was a lot of triggers. I had to go back and write some things. And then there are 15 stories, and they're not all my stories. So I had to talk to other women and other men and other youth and other, who had these stories that they wanted to share. And I'm feeling all the things while I'm trying to write this book. It's like, why did I do this? Because you were supposed to, and that's bottom line. Because this was your assignment. That's what you're supposed to do. But once I make the announcement that this is what I'm doing, I got to do it. I got to do it. And I have a very tight circle of people. Hey, Bryson, I see you. See, that's one of them people. I can't tell Bryson I'm doing something because she'll be texting me, friend. You said you was releasing another book this year. Where's the book? Get off my phone. But it's accountability. It's
Yes.
accountability to my assignment. So the people that are connected to me hold me accountable to my assignment.
Vanessa has a question. She says, women being that way, how can you tell the difference? Some women are competitive. I don't know what the.
You're right about that, Miss Vanessa. And I work with pageants, Sue, and I've worked in modeling. So
Ooh.
I get a chance to see pageant moms
Oh, geez.
and models who think every show is their big break, and they've done 500 shows and look the same. So yeah, there's a lot of competition. What is the motive? That's how you tell the difference. What is the motive? Is this something that they're doing to better themselves, to push themselves? This is just about their career, the next show? Is it the next event? Is it the next job? Is it the next raise? Or is this specifically tearing down other people? Because part of narcissism means someone has to be lesser than you. So there's never going to be a narcissist that doesn't bully other people. That's what they're doing. They are superior. And in order for them to be superior, someone else has to be less than. So look at the motive. The motive will always tell you the difference.
Okay. Tammy has a good question. It's not a question, but it's a comment, but it's a clarification and confirmation in here too. She says, I know what you mean, Vanessa. I'm going back and forth. I am a narcissist. Am I a narcissistic or am I empath? I love to give, but am I doing it for the wrong reasons too? So that kind of goes back to what you were saying too as well.
There are plenty of empaths that do it for the wrong reason. And typically that wrong reason is to get back what they've been given. I want some of the love I've been giving out. If you have to ask yourself, are you a narcissist or an empath? You are not a narcissist. Because
That's right. And she definitely is not a narcissist.
Nobody's
So by
asking
the
that
act
question.
by the act of self-healing, your definition changes, would you say?
That reflection, and let me pause. One of the characteristics, because I don't want to put my foot in my mouth, one of the 9 characteristics of narcissistic personality disorder is a lack of empathy. That's just one of the 9. That means you can be narcissistic and still have empathy for other people. That was probably the most shocking thing that I learned. But having empathy for other people and being an empath are completely different things. So what is it? What does it mean for you to be an empath? That's what you need to look at. What does that mean to you? Are you feeling everything everybody else is feeling? Because I guarantee you a narcissist is not. Because it's all about them. Think selfishness, self-centeredness, anything dealing with self-entitlement. That is narcissistic behavior. If you're reflecting on how you're feeling and if I'm doing things for the wrong reason, if I'm caring enough, honey, you are not a narcissist.
Right.
I'm not a doctor, but I play one on the playground.
Yes, yes, Dr. Simmons.
But if you're
We
having
did.
that type and that level of self-reflection, I'm pretty sure you're leaning towards the other way.
Yes.
And you don't
Most
have to be one or the
definitely,
other.
she's
You don't
anything
have
but
to be one or the other.
narcissistic.
We know. But that's a good question because some of them do
It
think that
is.
I'm empath, but I'm doing it for the wrong reasons. Maybe I do want them to love me, and I'm just over like, what do you want? How do you like it? What do you want? I'm like, but really, I want you to love me and give me whatever I want back in return. So I can.
It is. And if you and this is another one. I know there's some people that study the Enneagram, and I'm new to the Enneagram. But I would definitely be a 2 if I had to pick a number, because 2s are givers, helpers, fixers. And this is what we're talking about. But the tendency is to do those things to get something back. And even if it's just that grand gesture of a thank you. Oh my God, You're the greatest. This is the best Christmas gift. Cause listen, I'm the best gift giver. So I need you to tell me I'm the best gift giver. So
Okay.
I'm giving you an amazing gift, but
I see.
I need you to tell me.
Mm.
So I
Because
have
if
to
not, I'm
know
gonna
this.
ask you until you do tell me.
I
You
mean,
get about
right,
it.
right.
'Cause so that part of me,
Mm,
that empathic
mhm.
Enneagram 2, whatever, I have to manage that part of myself so that I know, am I what is my motive for helping? And there was one particular moment where I had to sit. It was probably the first time that I stopped myself because someone said they needed something. I don't want to say what they need. They needed something, and I had it. And I was sitting there, and had my phone in my hand, and I was about to send a message like, "Okay, let me. I can." And I stopped. Why are you doing this?
Mhm.
Why are you doing this?
Mhm.
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 They live in another state. They got family and friends. They got a partner. Why are you trying to do that? Why are you trying to do that? And sitting in that reflection for those 5 minutes is like, you know what? I might have it, but I need it for myself. I'm trying to give all my stuff away, my money away, my clothes away,
Right.
whatever. It's like, you know what? Why are you
Mm.
doing this? I was really doing that so somebody can say, you know what? That's amazing. Thank you so much. It's like I was looking for a thank you. I was
Mhm.
looking for a
Mm,
thank you. And I was looking for it because I wasn't getting in there some other places I should have been getting thank yous. So in
mm,
that one moment, and that was the first time that I had sat and stopped myself. And now I practice this regularly. When somebody posts something, I need something, or my phone go get cut off, and you sitting there like, eh, I don't really want to pay your phone bill just so you can tell me thank you. Or I want to
mhm.
go out to dinner, but I ain't got no money. I really don't want to treat dinner this weekend. I could, but I really don't.
You
I
know,
don't want
right.
to,
You know,
and it's not because I really want you to have a phone because you call me. So what? I don't care if you got a phone or not. But you don't necessarily want to go out with the person that want to go to dinner either. I don't even want to talk to you that long. No, I don't. No, I'm not gonna do that just so you can tell me thank you and I'm the best friend ever. No, I
ever,
don't
right.
need that. I don't need it. It feels good, but you have to learn how to get that fulfillment in other places so that you are not always overextending yourself so that you can be that person. You want to be that person.
Right.
And this
Right.
is
And
how you end
that
up getting
comes
sucked dry.
that's
All
where it
your
comes to
energy is
setting
gone.
boundaries.
Yes,
Yes,
setting
you have
healthy
to set those
boundaries. Yes.
boundaries. And it
Yeah, we got to
starts
set
with
those
you
healthy
being able to stop and do that reflection. I didn't
boundaries.
tell nobody. You don't have to send a message. Well, I would if I could. You ain't got to stop apologizing. You don't have to apologize. You can't. Period.
Mhm.
I'm not available. I have grown to say I'm not available without saying I'm sorry. I'm not available. I'm not available that day. This opportunity is not for me. I don't I won't be able to do that. I don't have time for that. I can't make space for that right now. Without
It,
prefacing it with an I'm sorry, I apologize, I wish I could. Cause you don't. You don't. This is not what I want to do with my weekend. You don't.
Mhm.
Now
it,
I've now see I appreciate what you're talking us through, because there's this whole masculine feminine game that we're playing, right? In terms of what does it mean to be present feminine? What does it mean to be present masculine? I've heard some people not even be able to set boundaries because of their association with masculinity or alpha energy, right? Because all you're doing is setting the boundaries so that your feminine aspect, your artist, can go wild, right? If the artist just goes wild without any boundaries, there's no actual foothold, there's nothing moving forward. And so she's setting some really beautiful precedent in saying, yes, I hear you, but guess what? I don't actually need all of that to really be feminine. I don't always need to be available to be uh, in my femininity, right? For some reason, there's this whole I gotta make sure everything's happening and everyone's
That's that
juggle, but
nurturer. You want him
that's
to be the
Mhm.
yeah,
nurturer for everybody. Not everybody, sis. You can't
Mhm.
nurture everybody. You only got
And a
two
people
booths.
pleaser.
It's only so many people you can feed at the same time. It's just you
Mhm.
can't do that. You weren't meant to
right.
feed the world.
Yeah.
you can be wisdom, you can be encouragement, you can be inspiration, but you cannot always be everything to all those people.
Right. And then that comes back to like you're saying about empathic. You find yourself pouring out everything and then you're sitting there saying, what's for me? Or I can even take a page from my story that I can say that I've been so much for everybody else that they're like, hey, you strong, you can solve it for everybody. But then when I turn around and I ask you for the helping hand, you can't do it because you like, well, divine sunshine can do it herself. She goes, but sometimes I can't do it. I'm looking for
Wait,
you, but you're so
that's
busy doing
if that's if you can even ask.
it.
That's
Right.
if you can ask for help, because most of us cannot.
That's true. That's true.
So not only are we giving and pouring out everything to everybody, but we're expecting them to know what I need right now and give it to me. Because I know what
Mhm.
you need and I've been giving it to you. I need somebody to come and do this for me. And that's not happening. And then you're
Yeah,
frustrated and then you don't want to give to nobody.
Right. Right. Like,
right.
And then you feel guilty about feeling selfish. It's just a,
clank,
it's just,
mm-mm.
then you start giving everything to everybody all over again. It's a cycle. It's a
Don't
cycle.
know. Back up. Get away from me. This heart is mine.
And everybody knows, all my people know my hashtag is no new friends. Period. They already know no new friends. That has been my motto forever because I know my boundaries, and I know I can't always cut them off. So hey, I can do this with these many people. That's it. And some of them will check me and say, "Hey, when the last time you went to sleep?" Okay, all right.
That's like real
Are
friend
you
right there.
resting? Did you eat today?
That's
You know I didn't eat today. You know I didn't eat today. You know I didn't. You know I didn't. And I'm thinking in my head, why didn't you bring me something? You knew I didn't eat. You should have brought me something. But I can only manage that and myself with these many people. So no new friends. I can't.
Right. Yeah, and I can
well,
understand that at the point that you just gotta. To me, I see it almost like an onion. It's like you build from that point on, and then you get secure with what you have there, and then you can be able to build those boundaries to layer on some more people. But I can understand that at this time, if you like that, and you just giving out, and somebody got a sad story, and before you know it, go on here, you can take this, and before you say, where your shirt at? I ain't got no shirt. I gave it to the person that said they needed it more than I did. And you
And
out there,
nobody's handing
so,
you a trophy for giving away your shirt. You
right,
want one,
so
but
like,
they ain't giving out
so
trophies for that.
that's true. And so you have to get to the point that, you just kind of build from there. You don't want to shut off your heart all the way. But again, I understand where you're coming from. It's just like, let me, until I understand how to truly value myself and how it's reflected in the friendships that I have. And they're coming authentically, like what you're saying, the way I'm coming with the same vibration and frequency, then we can layer. But if they're not, and I think that's going to help you also by you cutting them off that way too, is that you're being able to build healthy boundaries too, and you'll be able to recognize that in the true friendships that you have. So I can see some people that maybe need to kind of do that, especially if you're that givey of yourself and you have nothing. You're
Absolutely.
that partnership. That's
And the
what I
truth is, we don't necessarily manage our friendships efficiently or effectively for the most part. If you
think.
got a circle of friends and you're not touching that circle every week, you don't have time to be going out with no new people. You need to put some investment into the people that are already in your circle.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you keep meeting new people and giving out your number and connecting on social media? Come on now. Everybody on my social media, and I say this and it's really weird, but with the exception of maybe 20 people, everybody who's I'm friends with on Facebook is someone I've met and had a conversation with.
Yes.
We've had a conversation, or I know them in real life. Like, I'm not just adding folks that want to add me. Who are you? Who are you? I need to know why, and I need to know
You,
why you want to be connected to me. We've had a conversation, we've had a face to face, or we've talked for something, or connected somehow, this business or something. But I'm not just adding people to be adding people, So
Mm-mm.
I'm trying to. I have enough people to manage and touch. I need to touch these folks' lives. I got a best friend that's miles and miles away that I ain't heard from. in a couple of weeks. So I kind of need to touch that relationship. You know, my other bestie lives in another state. I just talked to him. We good. But these other people, you know, I need to put my hands on these relationships. And there are
I
only
got
so many you can do that for and really be
you.
authentic with it and really be open and really be that giving and nurturing and loving spirit that you need to be with the people that you claim are important in your life. You know, if you got 50 best friends, something wrong with you. And I don't want to be one of them. You can't have best friends. You know, if you got 20 people in your circle, we can talk. But if you got all these folks, if you throw a party, you got to really seriously think about who do I want in the room. You are managing your relationships effectively. If you just click, inviting everybody, no, you don't need that people. You don't need all them people around you.
That's true.
Well, that depends on what you're using the format for. I don't think of Facebook as
True. That's true.
an
That's true.
actual interface for interacting with friends. The friends concept, because everybody's a friend, they don't have an acquaintance button. They don't have a
Wow.
networking business
You're
button.
right. It should be an associate button. You right about that. You're an associate
But if you're my real one, you know you're my real one. But
Right.
everyone's kind of my love that way, right? But it's still the
because everybody
close
that
knit.
called you sis ain't your sis. You
Exactly. I'm
know,
like, I don't even use that term. Like, I know you don't know me because the way you talking to me.
ve- very rarely do I use that. You know, and I've had so many people that they'll call me their little sis or their big sis, and it's like I got one sister. I got one. I got
I
one.
remember the
You know,
first
it's
time I
only
heard that. My mom said that to some man at a pawn shop. He said, "Hello, sister." She said, "I am not your sister."
you know,
I
and
was
I
like,
think
"That's
and a lot of that comes from how I was raised because my mother had very few friends. They were very close knit. I didn't see her with a lot of people. She didn't bring people around the family, you know, and she put that in my head for years. Everybody ain't your friend. Everybody's not your friend. You think they're your friend. Everybody is not your friend. And it wasn't until I was grown that I was like, you know what, mama was right because that heifer was not not my friend. You know? But it takes maturity in your relationships to be able to name them and see them for what they are and respond appropriately. You know, it's only so much I'm gonna tell these people over here. You know, because I trust what they're gonna do with my information. I'm accountable to them. They're accountable to me. We have that rapport. These folks, what you say, the affiliate, what you call them? Not the, I said
Associate.
it so. I said associate. You said
acquaintance."
acquaintance. We don't
Okay.
have an acquaintance button, but you know that out of your
Right.
5,000 Facebook friends, 20 are friends.
Right.
Strong on the
so,
20.
so right, exactly.
Strong twin. Strong
But,
twin.
yeah, it's something we really need to keep in mind. And and people that know me know I don't let everybody in my house. You know, and when you leave,
Especially now. It's like,
I'm cleaning well, especially now, but even before
Right.
it was, I've been on
I
lockdown all my
tolerate
life. Everybody ain't coming in my house, and I'm cleaning everything when you leave, and opening the door and the windows, and take everything you left in here. Don't leave nothing lingering in my house. But
well, that's what I'm finding. Like I'm reading the energy, right? Because the body and what's resonating through um, when you're dealing with narcissistic abuse and you're dealing with that type of trauma, it's a huge solar plexus issue and it's a big root issue, right? So like, what is your foundations? Are you still sticking with the word or your particular faith, right? Are you believing and understanding, right? Because she said what? Faith is what helped her regain her power over narcissistic abuse and even putting herself in any situation, right? This woman, thank you, Angel, for coming on the show. She's like beautifully illustrated proper boundaries and knowing herself, right?
Mhm.
And that means that's a solar plexus thing. right? You're willing to give your power up. You're willing to tolerate things that aren't necessarily things that you need to tolerate because it's your solar plexus. And at any time, you can just shut that down, even if it's that energetics. Like you said, the shut, right? You
Shuddy,
shut
shuddy.
it, shutty,
Shutty,
shutty, you shut
shutty.
it, right? And it starts with just closing your mouth, closing and holding your solar plexus, asking for God, the universe, whatever it is that you're associated with, to fill that with light and love, for you to love yourself enough to then, whatever comes through the root, the action steps to get you into the safe environment, to give you the space where you get to clear out all this negativity that is basically probably you just compensating for something from childhood. Because I really don't see any adult naturally putting up with anything like this unless they were taught that as a child.
True.
So
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
we
most of
circle
most
back,
of our tolerance is definitely a coping mechanism.
right? And it's a lot of it's totally what you used the word. It started with a D earlier, disassociation.
Mm.
When we talked a little bit about you put up with it, you look down, you look up, it's been 6 months, it's been a year, you've been getting deeper and deeper into an abusive situation that you didn't want to notice and care for yourself enough to shut down.
Mm-hmm.
So, I invite you into, okay, well, these are facts. This is the science of it, right? The psychological studies, the mental disorder, that's all it. But then too, on the spiritual level, where are you? Right? Because you've got your spiritual, you've got your mental, emotional, your physical, and then the balancing of all of that. Because the major come up, right, as divine feminines, is really having that power within you. Because we find so often that as this female avatar, we are seeking to either over nurture or give, or, we want to find that balance. And that's going to be the key to even skirting past this. You know what I mean? And observing the narcissistic behavior in somebody else's, you know what I mean? Healing process. You don't have to go through all of the trauma, we don't have to all do it collect. I know you're an empath, but you don't have to take somebody else's pain to actually process and move on to a higher level, right? You can actually go through the process of doing the self-healing and the reflection of your childhood and all this stuff using, Divine Sunshine has a beautiful series. We've got our wonderful guest who has, I'm excited to check out the devotional. I'm a big fan of devotionals where you are redoing the work and it's a day-to-day process, because that's what it is. It's the relationship with ourself. It's the relationship with our other, right? And that's the major key, is being able to accept a relationship, not just put down narcissistic relationships and behaviors, but also being whole enough with the self that we can actually attract and vibrate in a connection that has sustainability. And I just want to push that love towards all you guys. Sustainable relationships. I think there's a lot of distraction going on outside at the exact moment that people are procrastinating on sustainable relationships and healthy family dynamics.
Yes.
Because we may have issues with narcissistic behavior in our past. We may have mixed families now. So, what are maybe some techniques or something that let's say we're going to encounter our child's parent, other parent, or the person's ex or something. When you're getting into your twin flame relationship, like, what is going to be our ways of interacting with freaking narcissists, because they are now integrated, because society's kind of fell off for a minute. Now we're talking about it, but they weren't talking about it in the 20s or 30s. But I'm pretty sure it existed based on some of those history books and how they read about, how they talk about women's health and so on and so forth. This is all narcissism built from, it's the way the system is built. So now we're purging it out, right? So what are some steps we can do with dealing with a narcissist, but not necessarily being able to change? Or maybe they're not full blown diagnosed, maybe they have heavy tendencies. What are some ways to interact with manipulative people? Because I know they come through for sure.
Yeah. They
Absolutely. Well, I think
narcissistic.
that
I say
yeah,
they're a little narcissistic-ish.
right, right. And the first step is always going to be that self-reflection, in noticing how you feel and act around them. Um,
Mhm.
what your comfort level is, what triggers you, and what your responses are, and changing those responses. So recognizing that, and then changing that would be the first thing. For some of these relationships, and I go into a lot of these terms in the book. Some of these relationships, you just got to go no contact. Period.
Mhm.
If it's a boss, you need a new job. If it's a
Mhm.
pastor, you need to find another ministry. If it's a friendship, is it a friendship? Is it? Or is it somebody that's just feeding off of everything you're giving them? Um, if it's a
I got 20
spouse,
friends. That's it.
addressing those addressing those issues with your spouse or your partner, taking those steps towards counseling or therapy or separation, if that is not an option that is available or agreed upon. If it's a uh, baby daddy, child's father, child's mother, somebody you have to keep coming in contact with, parents, if you're an adult, or parent-in-law. Gray rock is another term. No response, dry,
Yep.
no reaction, nothing. Anything they say, okay, thank you, yes. No details. You cannot be supplied to feed them.
Mhm.
That's what you are to a narcissist. You are supply. You cannot be anything interesting, exciting, that will be stimulating. Remember, we talked about that stimulation. If you're stimulating them, they're going to keep looking for a response. If they're not getting nothing from you, they'll fade to black. And you deal with them on a need to deal with them basis. If it's not about the children, we don't need to be texting. There's no communication if it's not about the kids. If this is not that type of relationship, then we don't need any other interaction if it's not about the children.
Mhm.
Setting those boundaries, changing what you have been tolerating. All of those things are going to have to be done in steps. But if this is a situation where you recognize you've been abused, um, you're not pursuing this relationship, there's nothing else keeping you there, no contact. No contact. No text, no calls, no emails. Stop following them on social media. If you need to change your number, move, change your name, get a new face, listen, whatever you need to do to stay safe and to stay healthy, um, mentally, you do that. You do that. I've had to go no contact. Um, I've had to go gray rock. I've had to have limited contact, based on business or mutual friendships or things like that. But ministry, I left the church, so there are different situations where you have to remove yourself from the situation. And then there's some where you have to remove that response that you've been giving them that's been feeding into the other person's behavior.
What if okay, you do the, and I'm challenging this, somebody asking this. They said that they're in a family situation. The mother-in-law she's done the gray rock, as you said, technique. But the mother-in-law has a way of, she goes get like the sister of the ex, let's say they have kids together, and she has to, have contact with the father and the mother-in-law, the ex-mother-in-law, and I'm trying to get one. They're feeding it to me. Hold on a second. And so they're saying that they have to have a contact with her, but she has a way of getting like the brother and the sister involved, if you understand what I'm saying. And so now they got somebody else to feed off, but she graves rocks them, the mother-in-law, but she goes and try to get allies within the family. Am I under, am I getting
They're
so what
called
you
flying monkeys. Yes,
okay,
all those extra people are called flying monkeys. We talk about that in the
right,
book as well. These
right,
are all of the people that are attached to the narcissist that are doing their bidding and creating uh, strife and chaos and confusion on their behalf so that they
yeah,
look like their hands are clean. They're not the
mhm.
ones doing it. In that situation, is this a current mother-in-law or ex-mother-in-law?
Their ex-mother-in-law.
This is an ex-mother. You're a non-factor. You know,
Okay,
this is again, is it does it relate to the children? Yes or no? If it has nothing to do with the children, what is the contact? Why are we still in contact? Gray Rock was the appropriate response for that, as well as
okay,
to those siblings that are attached to that ex mother-in-law. Making
okay,
sure that the spouse knows, or even the ex-spouse knows, let them know the situation and be done with it. Gray Rock all around. Everybody gets a Gray Rock. you know,
okay,
you cannot feed into any of that. All of that's a diversion. And again, does it have anything to do with the children? Nope. Then there shouldn't be any other contact.
okay.
There's nothing else to talk about, nothing else to discuss. I mean, unless this is a friendship that you are attempting to maintain, if that other person is not willing to put in the work, you're in a relationship by yourself. That's not a relationship. That's completely one-sided. You can't affect anybody else's decision. You can try to be persuasive, but if they don't see the need for help or if they don't see anything wrong with what they're doing, you have to change your response as well as what you tolerate and are triggered by.
Okay.
You can
Because
only control you.
I can hear them saying, I've tried that, but at the same time, they still, when I do have to interact with them in family functions and stuff, they got the flying monkeys talking about me.
Why you going to family function?
Because
You
you
don't
got the,
have to do that.
well,
Send the
sure.
kids.
Okay.
Send the kid. It's the kid's family. Send the kids. Are they at the age where they need to be chaperoned? Where's their father to do that chaperoning? If he should be the one taking them, if that's his family function. You don't have to put yourself in those positions.
I got you.
And
I
that's
got
what gets the response. That's what gets that response out of you. You don't have to be there. You have to change your response.
you. Got you. Okay.
How would we kind of assist our children who are exposed to heavy narcissistic abusive patterns or behaviors? How can we prepare or help children recover from that?
Children understand a lot more than what we think. And if
Mhm,
you have to change the terminology, they understand what a bully is.
mhm.
Yeah. They understand power. They understand a power struggle. They understand good cop, bad cop. They understand different terminology. So there are plenty of ways to explain it. Explain it how you would explain it to your friend, and then change the terminology if they need more. But they will understand a lot more, especially if it's something that's hurting you. They don't want to see their mother in pain. They don't want to see their aunt in pain. Even if this grandma that's doing it. They what's wrong with grandma? Let me tell you what's wrong with grandma. They will understand a lot more than we give them credit for. And they ultimately don't want to see you hurting or suffering.
Hmm.
They're more
Well, and
empathetic than we are.
in that instance, that if it's the roles are reversed, they don't want to see their father hurting either.
No,
If it's a situation like that.
absolutely. Absolutely. And I apologize if I haven't said enough the male
Oh no.
perspective of this. I'm sitting in front of a panel of beautiful women. I'm only thinking
Yeah,
about women
yes.
at this moment.
And
But
that's
I
funny
do
you.
have
I don't
male
blame you.
yeah, I do have
Thank you. We
male
just a
friends.
reflection of you. We just a
Right.
reflection of you and your beauty.
I do have male friends who have
That's
experienced
what I was going to
narcissistic abuse from their wives, from their fiancés, from their children's mother. I do have male friends who have
Mhm.
experienced that. There are a few males who shared their stories in the book. It's not all women. So it happens on both sides. We see it more predominantly with women and wives and girlfriends and daughters and things like that. But don't forget, let's not forget our brothers need our support as well.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and that's what I was thinking too, because I was thinking in some ways it's a little kind of harder for them to come out there, because maybe they might be saying, "Man, you ain't got no backbone. You just put her in place, it'll be over with. I don't know why you taking that." And it's not just that kind of like easy. That from the man. That's why I was wondering. I'm like, how would you kind of tell a man that was in that kind of perspective when he might have even friends that's pushing him to say, "Oh no, it ain't that bad. She not this. She just bossy, or something like that, or something that
Because it
just
seems
make
emasculating for him to say that.
Mm-hmm.
right,
Either
I'm
that or
sure that
because they're empaths, they're trying to keep the peace.
true,
So
exactly,
whatever they
and
need,
most
they're
times,
just going to let it go. And over the years, they've gotten blamed for everything this narcissist or this woman with narcissistic tendencies has. They've gotten blamed for it, and they've gotten the black eye for it. And nobody's going to believe them now when they step out and say, well, when all this happened, yeah, it wasn't me, it was her.
mm-hmm.
And
absolutely,
so
Oh,
they just kind of shrink back
absolutely.
in.
And and he said telling their friends, yeah, those are likely not your friends. If you're sharing that level of deep information with them and that's their response, then those are
Mm.
Right.
people that are not in your corner. Finding support groups for men who have
it's
struggled with this. That might be the way to go for them.
it's coming
And
up,
there's so
Making
many
sure other
online
people
too.
in the family.
I have a friend who also started it's like a listening group kind of thing on Instagram. If you guys want me to post that at some point, I can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Message Divine Sunshine, but it's the Listeners Lounge on Instagram. The Listeners Lounge. He on Thursdays they get together and you can just talk empathic. Just they will sit there and they will listen. Are they going to advise? I don't think they're advising, but they are there to listen to you, right?
Mm,
Because sometimes you just want to let it out, and
Right.
strangers, and just to hear what you're saying and what your perspective is. It's hard right now, I found, for a lot of people who are in those kind of abusive situations, and tense situations, because a lot of times we haven't, I would say that communication, actual, like real heart to heart deep communication, hasn't really been the focus of our society on teaching us. We can do basic grunts and scratches and or look at my bling, but but having that like heart to heart, like I'm having a hard time communicating with this other person, is is something to be lacking. So even I found there's a lot of videos out there, or there's a lot of information out there on how to communicate to people, because there's different styles of communicating, just like there's different love styles.
mhm. And that was
So
one of the reasons why I wrote the first book, the devotional, because it addresses human relationship. And we're talking about all aspects of people and not just romantic encounters.
Mm-hmm.
Because we have not been taught the importance of having other people in our lives. We haven't been taught the importance of relationship or even the purpose of it. Um, People tend to see relationships as luxuries when they're really necessities. This is for us to grow. This is for our own personal growth and development. It's a lifeline with other people, and I think this pandemic has opened a lot of people's eyes to see um, the isolation that they've been encountering, especially with the first lockdown, especially with millennials who are used to being social and out with people and coffee shops and parties and things like that. Not being able to do that, the suicide rates went up in 2020. And I work in suicide intervention. My phone never goes off for that reason, but the rates went up in 2020 among young adults because they didn't have those connections to other people that they were used to having. And truth be told, they weren't really connections. They were
They had to
calling them
face
connections.
themselves.
Yes, you had to
They
learn who you
they
like.
had
Do
to
you
face
like
their true
yourself?
self.
Are you good company? I love my company. You see me? This is
Mm-hmm.
me at home. This is me at home on a Friday night anyway. I have a Valentine's tree up. I didn't sit in front of it for this interview because I didn't want to be distracting. But I have a Valentine's tree up. I've been waiting to
That's
do this my whole
cool.
life.
That's
My
so
whole
cool.
life I've been waiting. It is filled with hearts and roses, and I sit and look at my tree. My candles are on, my music is on. I'm drinking tea or adult tea or something. I bake. I was telling Miss Divine Sunshine, I put this shirt on and realized that the quarantine has been good to my stomach. Because the shirt's kind of tight. But one of the things that I learned during the quarantine is that a lot of people don't like themselves, and
Yes.
they were forced to spend time with themselves. Somebody asked a question, it's up somewhere, but they were saying that they've never really had a friend and is an
Real friends,
adult. They never
right?
had a real friend as an adult. My question to that person is one, what is your definition of real friendship? And do you consider yourself a good friend? Because the first characteristic of friendship is showing yourself friendly. So if you consider yourself a good friend, I question who your friends are. If it's somebody you're overlooking, or have you really taken the time to invest in those relationships? That's what I was talking about earlier. Are you touching these relationships in such a way that they're getting enough uh, sustenance to survive and to thrive as well? If your friendships aren't thriving, it's one thing just to have a friend, but do you have a thriving friendship with your friends? Are you on the phone for 7 hours on any given day? And I'm not saying you got to do that. I'm just saying sometimes it happens. Are you open to
Mhm.
that? Do you let people in your house? I don't. I don't let people in. I got a handful of people I let in my house. But I know that, and I know that's a boundary for me because you sit on my couch and start telling me your problems, I'm just gonna start handing you stuff in my house. Yeah, thank you. But I know I have to set those limits. That's just for my sanity. I know I gotta set those limits. I know I'm gonna get up and make a whole 5 course meal if you sit here long enough because I need to feed you and I can't just order pizza. I got to show out. Now you gotta go. You gotta go because I know what I'm gonna do. But that's for me. But what kind of investment are you putting into those relationships so that you can have a healthy, thriving friendship as an adult? It is extremely important. And society has taught us that we don't need no friends. What did I say my hashtag was? No new friends. But it's
No, no,
new.
no.
New is the key word. I got some. I got some.
If
But
you
are
don't
we
have
are we
friends, we highly suggest you continue to make friends.
yes.
Right.
Continue to make friends, but you also have to put that time and investment and energy into that relationship. It's work. Friendship is the
Mhm.
hardest. Friendship is harder work than a romantic relationship. Because I could take my clothes off and shut him up. We ain't got to communicate at all. Once that happens. But I can't do that with my friend. We need to talk and have a conversation. So it's a different
Well,
dynamic.
and if you
But
do that,
it
that usually will
requires
start a conversation. So
Right, that will.
it might. A whole other kind of
you
It
take your
will.
conversation.
clothes off, your best friend is going to be looking at you like, what is going on here? We need to talk.
Oh, we're doing this now. My friends are about it.
You really-
We're doing this now.
Right.
All right.
It's like, oh, you hot? Right. You come in my house. It's like, you hot? Do I need to open the window? Is it what's going on? But
Body
it
positive.
takes
We're
more
body
work.
positive.
Right.
Right. Yeah. But it takes more work into friendships than it does romantic relationships because it's all communication. It's
Yeah.
all social. It's all interaction. And it's constant. It's constant. And guess what? Those friends are gonna be there longer than some of these booze you're running around with. My bestie and I, we have a thing. I hate the term BAE, BAE,
Mm.
BAE. We gave it a whole new acronym. BAE stands for Badass Experiment.
All right.
You are experiment number 695. That's your number. Give them a number. No, I don't know. No, we're not gonna do that. But your friendships are gonna linger longer than these what did you say in the beginning of the show? Something about a Joe Blow, something about Joe Blow on
Yeah,
the street or
everybody
something.
Joe Blow. Yeah, they call it down the street.
I ain't never had a Joe Blow. Let me be clear. I don't know Joe. But if that's what you out here doing, your friends are the ones that you're going to be talking to and discussing this with and running all these ideas by and your business ventures and education and life and faith and kids and family. And who are you talking to if you don't have friends? Because if you're your sounding board, you're going to get it wrong every time.
I said that. Thank you. I told
Yeah.
the subscribers
Yeah.
to be
You're
somebody
going to get
else,
it
but I
wrong
told
every time.
you can't do that.
Because
You
we want
cannot.
to be right. We
Well, and
think
the
we're
part of
right
it
all the
too,
time.
if you're an empath and you're coming out of this narcissistic relationship, the hardest thing you can do is work on a friendship, because you always think you're bothering somebody. You don't, well,
Right.
I don't want to bother them. They're so
Yes.
busy. They don't have time for me. I
Yes.
don't want to bother them. Um, oh, and you convince yourself they don't want to talk to you. They don't want to do any of this stuff. And you finally just have to, sit down and pretty much have a come to Jesus meeting with yourself to get over it. If they didn't want to talk to you, they won't answer the phone. We all can do that, swipe, and
Right.
they're not going to answer. So, call, reach out.
And sometimes we have to give people the space. Whew, this is hard to say. We have to give people the space to be who they are in
Mm-hmm.
regards to relationship and friendship, because everyone does not handle it like you. My
Right.
bestie will not answer that phone 9 times out of 10 when I call. One is a time difference. Two, they're in another state. It's a time difference. I might be at work. They might be doing something else. I take it very personal if I call somebody and they don't answer the phone, or at least send me a message to say, "Hey, I saw you call," because that's what I would do, right? "Hey, I saw you call. I'm on the work Zoom. I'm on a meeting. I'm helping somebody move. I'm doing something, whatever. I need you to send me a response back. Tell me why you didn't answer my call." Everybody doesn't do that. Everybody's not like you. And let
Right.
him tell it. You might need to call him 3 4 times before he answers the phone, because he don't like talking on the phone. But when we on the phone, it's a 5 hour conversation. You don't like talking on the phone,
Yeah.
whatever. But I've had to come to terms with. I'm so glad he's not in this thread. I will have to come to terms with that, knowing that I can't take it personally
Mm-hmm.
because
Right.
he's not like me. My other best friend, she has 8 children. She don't often know where her phone is, let alone
The kids were
answering
playing
when
games on
I
it
call. Just
when
eight
you
children.
call.
She
Right.
has 8 children and a husband and a sister who always there. I get lost in the shuffle. And it's
Mm-hmm.
not, and she doesn't love me any less. She doesn't think about me any less. She just can't talk on the phone. I got
Right.
time because I live by myself and it's quiet and peaceful. And I'm like, hey, what you doing? Ain't nobody got that kind of time, but a few people that I know. And the lockdown has shown us this, because it's probably 3 people that can video call me, and I'll be sitting there with a shirt and no bra and a glass in my hand, like, what do you want? I'm gonna answer, but I'm gonna ask you, what you want? What you want?
Uh,
It's 10 o'clock. What you want? But we do that. But we can do that because we have that level of relationship.
shit. Right.
I'm not answering video call for everybody else. Them 3, anytime, it don't matter, unless I'm
Mm-hmm.
asleep on the Zoom and doing something. But I cannot expect everybody to regard relationship and friendship in the same exact way I would, and take it personally, or feel some kind of way, as the young folks say. I can't feel
Right.
some kind of way about how you treat my friendship,
Mm-hmm.
because it's not like how I treat our friendship. As
Mm-hmm.
long as it's not disrespectful, you're not disregarding me. I'm I can't expect you to have the same kind of time I have for it.
Right.
And
Yeah.
then there
Right.
and that will reverse. Different seasons will bring different availability. It will be times where
Mm-hmm.
they're calling me and texting me, and I'm like, I can't answer the phone. I'm at Walmart. I gotta call you back. Or maybe I don't get around to sending that text. Hey, I saw you call. I'm at Walmart. I might not get a chance to send that text. And all they know is I missed their call. And then I have to explain it later. And then the day goes by and the night goes by and it's tomorrow. And I didn't return a phone call. It happens to me too. So why am
Mm-hmm.
I so different? Why am I so different when it happens? Why do I take it so personally when it happens to me? Because I'm in that moment taking it personally. So those responses, it goes back to your response to how these things that are happening and how that changes how you feel and how you view things.
Mm-hmm.
That is true. That
See,
is
see,
true.
once we get into a state of actually acquiring or we are attracting our real friends, right? Because I say real friends versus the immature style of what we think friendship is supposed to be, which is also that itself that's associated with getting into those abusive relationships in the first place, right? So once we have identified those pieces of ourself where our boundaries are, what we actually we hold a vibration, right? We get to know ourselves so much we're holding a vibration, and that's when we actually can meet and connect with the people that are going to vibrate with us for a majority of our life, right? Because they can
Mhm.
say something to you and you not be offended by it. You can hear it and understand it. Or you can say, nope, that's not for me. And we can agree to disagree and it'll still be okay between the two of you. If you're still going back and
Mhm.
forth with the triggering and the why haven't they called me? You know what I mean? Because I feel like, even when my best friend, uh, one of my best friends passed away, but it was always one of those, we didn't talk for a few months, but we pick up the phone and it's like, we could talk for
Find out.
hours. It's that love, you know what I mean? It's that real true connection. And we can also be honest with each other, right? She'll
Mhm.
know when I'm sugarcoating something and say to me,
Oh,
that's not okay, right? What you're saying. And it's like, you know what? Thank you for not agreeing with me, right? Thank you for not just saying that, yes, what I'm saying is, yeah, and that's real love. That's real friendship, right? Oh, miss my girl. But I'm just thankful I had the opportunity to have that love. There's no love like a real friend. There's no love like
No,
a
it's not.
true, authentic connection and a connection with the being. And
mhm.
that is the vibration you'll hold once you know yourself well enough,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Absolutely.
I'm sure you have friends. You may not be counting them as friends because you don't want to right now, or you're not holding your vibration in a way where you're attracting the right people into your vibration. You might want to be attracting fights
Mm.
because sometimes we do.
Mm.
Right? We want to prove we're right. We want to be this and that. I'm this, because there's a spiritual ego too. There's all kinds of stuff that comes out of us because of how we grew up, the lessons we get to learn in this life, right? And if we go with those like head on and like face them, that's the beauty of it, because then we see through all of our own masks too.
Mm-hmm.
Here's another
And
thought. Sometimes the world might be keeping people away from you until you get yourself together. Because
Mm-hmm.
any friend that might be brought into your circle at this time might need to do some damage control. So maybe this
Most
is a time
definitely.
where you're supposed to be doing that self-reflection and looking at those triggers and looking at your responses and maturing to where you know what friendship is, what it takes, the work you got to put into it before somebody is put in that spot. There's always a space for it, and if are we holding the space? Are we holding the space for it? It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Wanda. Wanda said in the mic.
I
Say
know, right?
hi.
She kind of she had a
What
purple dot
Wanda
too,
say?
and she kind of blended in. Sorry,
Yeah,
Wanda.
everybody got
Yeah, I
quiet
said
for a
hi,
while.
Wanda. Yeah, and I said hi to Vanessa too at 7:54. So I don't know, or somebody didn't say hi to Vanessa. She
I
said hello.
No,
use
it was
the
no, it was
term,
Wanda.
I
I
said it.
said,
Wanda fell kind of
I
slid
said
in
it's
on us.
I
7:54. I
said
said hello to
aloha,
you.
lovelies. That counts.
So we
It's
did
a
say hello
general
to you.
greeting. Do you have a
Hi,
question for
everybody.
our second author and special
And
guest?
they've been throwing them in. I got to say, nobody been quiet over here. They've
They've
been
been
throwing
quiet.
it.
I'm like, were you
What?
listening or were you
Yeah.
quiet? I can see
They
nothing
listen. You
over
got
here.
to give them a nice earful. And it's like, I got to really saturate and think about
I,
everything
That's
that's
good.
been said. So
I
that's
love what
good.
you said though about people being held, out of your life at times. to actually protect the relationship. Because I think that goes back to the whole thing, whether you've been in an abusive relationship or any kind of relationship, it doesn't matter, friendship, business relationship, whatever, you've got to love yourself, know your worth, and know what you deserve, and have those boundaries before you can go out and make those true, authentic connections and relationships. Because if you don't have that, then you're still feeding off of that masked person that you want the world to see and not who you are, you know.
One
Thank
of
you,
the
Vanessa.
things,
That was a
one
very
of the,
mature response. Thank you.
one of the things I like to tell people to do, I do it myself, is I'll stand in front of a mirror naked or some kind of
Woo!
reflective surface naked, and I look at every piece of me and love me because I know each piece is worth it. Oh, look at this. Tons of resistance. Every time I start speaking truths, we got massive construction. What are they cutting cement? What is happening? What is happening right now? Anyway, for those of you who are trying to not look at their thighs and say, I love you, even though I may not understand you fully right now, all this little piece, these little jiggles, I may not fully understand why you're there and why I have these mixed emotions. I know that you're here to bring love to this earth. I know that you're here because I'm here. I'm a sacred being. I have been ordained by the great I am to be who I am right now. So here we are. And I accept me. And once you start to do it once, the first time you feel like you're lying, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't want to lie to you.
Absolutely.
But you start to get comfortable and you start to get used to yourself. The biggest therapy you can do is see a big mirror of yourself every day, not necessarily sitting there and judging you, but learning to accept all of you. And when you accept all of you, you really start to get the difference between what you're worth and what you're not worth. Do you think that it's okay? And then you imagine if it was your best friend or your child, or what if they were saying the negative things they were saying, you were saying to yourself, would that be okay? I don't think so.
Mm-mm.
Right? And we switch that up, because one of the things is we're seeking this love externally, or else we wouldn't be taking all this abuse and trying to fix somebody else. If we would accept and fully accept and love ourselves and say, I can't fix them, but I will invite them to fix themselves. I sure will. I'm removing myself from their narcissistic abuse, but I will say, maybe you can reflect on this for yourself. That's so hard.
When I'm gone.
Exactly.
When I'm gone. Think about it. I'm gonna give you time to think about it after I leave. I love that example you gave, because this is something that I've done with a lot of organizations with young girls with mentoring, the mirror exercise, sitting in the mirror and saying positive affirmations to themselves, not naked, but sitting in the mirror and speaking those words over themselves. I'm smart, I'm beautiful, I'm knowledgeable, I'm wise, I make good choices, I make good decisions, all those things. And most of the time, there are tears. There are tears coming from 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds, teenagers. But naked as a 40 something else, that's my hashtag, 40 something else, 40 something else, year old woman after quarantine, 15 or 27. Um, Listen, that's hard. That's something hard to do. That's hard to do.
In reality, I
But
don't, because it's freaky,
necessary.
because it's Freaky Friday. There is a
Necessary.
fetish for everybody about everybody. No matter what you got one eye. Somebody is out
Tell
there
it.
thinking about you.
You got to. They want that one eye, baby. They want that
So
one eye.
don't you
They
worry
want it.
about a few jigglies. You know what I'm
They want
saying?
the
If
jigglies. They
you
have
really worried
entire
about it, you better listen to Missy Elliott and jiggle that fat. That's the only way you get rid of it.
listen. They got entire groups. They got entire groups dedicated to your one eye, your jiggly thighs, and the jiggly legs. They looking
Right.
for you. Somebody want what you got. That is for sure. What
Oh, if
Yes.
Bryce
I
said,
could just
I got
hobble
a
like
accepted
her, if
gut.
I could just
Yep.
hobble.
I got
And
a
see,
Yes.
then when you
accepted
get
gut.
that brave,
Yep.
then you go dance under the moonlight, right, April?
Oh,
Let's go, baby. It's
You
a
out there
full moon
dancing naked?
tonight.
Oh my
Yep,
goodness.
under the moonlight.
Well,
Yes,
listen,
it's
I don't dance under the moonlight butt naked, but I do strut the runway. And
yes, she
sometimes I
does.
wear some makeup,
Yes.
sometimes I don't. Sometimes I don't. But I have grown to accept all the extra. I was always the largest one in my dance class. Most likely, I was the largest one in the designer's room waiting on my outfit because it was too tight. I need something else. But
That's
yeah,
so
all that
cool. That's so
acceptance.
cool.
You have
I love
you have to do that for, and you do it for you. You do it
Hmm.
for you,
That's
and it
it.
changes your perspective on how people treat you, how they talk to you, how they address you. When you've been standing in the mirror saying all these fly things, and then when somebody says something different, you like, excuse me, who are you talking to? Who are you talking to? Because what
it.
I'm not is that. I tell you who I am, but it's not that. And that's when you find yourself quickly removing yourself from situations that are doing you harm and are making you feel less than, because that's going to be the first trigger. I'm feeling less than. I need to either change what I'm tolerating or remove myself from this space.
Well, see, that
So
that was the
here's
healing
your
I
work.
learned.
Here's your work for everybody tonight. Get in the mirror naked.
Yes.
That
Naked
was
and
that
free.
was my lesson. That's how I learned it as I got out of my abusive relationship. After being told for so many years how ugly and unattractive I was, and how nobody was going to want me but him, and it was just that control. And when I finally broke out of that, and with April and Divine Sunshine's help, doing the mirror work, and then finally, what was it? It was this summer one time, the full moon, I think it was, because I remember the
She
pool was
was
up,
so happy.
and I was just like, there was nobody home. The whole family was gone, but me and the dog. And luckily have 6 foot fences around my backyard, so no one was traumatized. But
Girl,
you
you're
know,
just gonna get tips in the mail from anonymous donors. Don't you
you
worry
know,
about a thing.
hey, to send cash, no checks. We don't need any paper trail.
Get a little
But
tattoo that says has your buy my coffee thing or whatever on it.
yeah, but
I'm thinking.
that was really how I did that, because it was one thing to stand in front of the mirror, because I used to, you do that and you would criticize yourself. So I could turn that around and say things about myself and say good things about myself. But some of it was that childhood programming, oh, you don't go out of the house like that. It's my
Absolutely.
backyard. I pay enough on this mortgage. I should be able to walk anywhere I want to, however I want to. And it wasn't offensive. I wasn't in the front yard. I wasn't, my children weren't home. But that was my kind of my graduation, my aha moment, that you know what, you know what you deserve.
Mm.
And that was it. I deserved that freedom. I didn't deserve those labels anymore.
And
Right.
that's also
You
why it's so important to have the circles around us of women that can look at you and say, "Who told you you weren't beautiful?" Because I'm looking at you and I see something different. If you don't have
Mhm.
people building that up in you, you don't hear it enough. You need to hear it
right.
enough to start believing it. And that's why it
Mhm.
was so important for that exercise with the mirror to start with the preteens. Who are looking at the
Mm-hmm.
media, looking at TV, and looking at magazines, who are
Exactly.
telling
Oh
them
god.
what they think
Exactly.
beauty should be. When I started modeling, my hair was natural. And every time I would show up to an audition, they loved the look, they loved everything about it, blah, blah, blah. On show day, they tried to straighten my hair. And it took me a long time to say, no, I'm gonna wear it like this. You can do my makeup, leave my hair just like this. It took me a long time because I felt like they would tell me, well, you can't walk there. It's like, well, you were fine with my hair at the audition. And I also had to be okay with, if they told me to walk, because I'm gonna walk out. You can either do this or respect my whatever, or I'm
Mm,
not in your show. So it wasn't about me being in their show. It was about me being in their show. You wanted me. You asked me. You chose me. If you're not taking this afro I got, uh, I can walk out of here. It's your loss. I'm not losing anything because I'm gonna do another show next week. It's not a big deal. But I had to get to that point, where it was okay for me to be a plus size woman who's 5'5" with natural hair saying, I don't have to do this show. Because the back of my mind was saying, you need to do this show because you 5'5" and you already bigger than everybody here. And you know, you got afro, everybody else in here got weave down their back. No, I had to change that perspective of me to say, this is me. You want this. And I know what it's worth. And I know somebody else wants it. So I don't have to be here. I don't have to be here.
Yeah, once you do that kind of exercises there, it helps to, if we're talking about going to the spiritual aspect there, you start changing that heart frequency. It starts to come to a point that you do the mirror exercise, like April said, and even goodness bold is the affirmations. And I love what Mimi was talking about. She had an old friend that is this the one that said the old classmate that has a mirror that she decorated with words, and she calls it the affirmation station. And it's for her son and daughter under the ages of 7, and she had quotes all around it. And so after a while, that stuff becomes really ingrained in your heart and that frequency. And after a while, you don't have to come in and talking and advertising. Your essence and your frequency says it all. And so when they come in, they're like, okay, well, you know, we don't have to do any kind of special changes on our own. They already pretty much responds to the frequency, to the energy that you throw out there. That's it. And they respond and they step in line and align to that energy that you send out there to them too.
That's right, because after a while they stop asking. And I love that quote about the mirror. I used to write "Good morning, Queen" at the top of my mirror. So when I turned over in the morning, that was the first grin of the day. Hey you, hey you, what we doing today? What are we doing today? Before I even got out the bed, I saw Queen on that mirror, and I stopped writing on the mirror. But now all of my crowns are sitting on the stand. So when I turn over in the morning, I'm looking at 5 crowns. You know, I see this in the morning. So I know, okay, it don't matter what this day is bringing. It don't matter what you bring it on. Bring it on. What we doing?
Sense that intentionality for the day too, and everything falls in line from that image. This is already set for you too as well. Yes,
I once had it said to me, and I this is in response to what Mimi just wrote about this, how she thought she looked when she stepped outside, right? And someone said, I wish you could see you the way I see you. And then you would see how beautiful you really are. And we are our own harshest critics. It's not the fact of being naked, or it's not a sexual thing. It's actually just an intimacy and connection with self, right? Because the hardest thing I think for most people to do is look themselves in the eye and genuinely tell themselves that they love themselves and that they're okay with all of their everythings, be it their pluses and their minuses, right? Because when you know your weaknesses, you know how to strengthen them. And that's why we do need each other as friends, or as a positive reflection. Now, we're not saying, because this whole started off with the narcissistic abuse, right? We're not saying choose the wrong person to listen to confirm the false narrative that you've created for your storyline that's associated with your ego. Your ego might be attached to its victimization, but your higher self is not, right? And since we're all stepping into our divinity, how can you do that? And maybe it's not the outside naked thing for you, but it is a full moon, so you might as well take advantage. It's the understanding the beauty of your meat suit. I'm telling you, this is not going on. And when I'm not talking about this, so there's a lot of resistance of people embodying. And that's my goal, is to come up, get some videos out about why embodiment is important. Embodiment, my definition of embodiment is carrying your connection with God, your connection with spirit, your connection with universe in you at your conscious waking state, so that you're so present that you can actually manifest cleanly, not manifesting based on your prior traumas or things you experienced when you were a child, but manifesting what is you. when Angel stepped into her, she was able to perform. She was, she's a role model going out there as a larger model, right? What is it that you are stepping into for yourself
Mm-hmm.
besides a whole lot of resistance? Because the outside don't
Mm.
lie. The outside, as so within. Oh wait, as without, so within. Something like this.
And
I
hold
can't.
out. Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of distraction and chaos, and we are doing our best to not disassociate right now as a society overall, right? There's so much traumatic stuff going on in terms of what happened with the election, what's happening with the corona and the variations and then our confusions about relationships and what love really means. Because a lot of this time we were told that love is being hard or having to sacrifice something or over just overdoing something or receiving compliments, you know what I mean? Or receiving money. None of this stuff is actually love.
Mm-mm.
We need to go down to that bare bones and get down to, what is it that we need on that ground zero level? And at that, where do we build ourselves? What are we scraping out so that we can thou then add in? So this moon has been so intense, got me all flipped up and around, makes you want to like pull your head back in your shell like a turtle. Like this has been the most intense amount of energy that I have had to flip in a hot minute. And what's beautiful about it is it feels chaotic and scary, but things that are happening for us are easy and they're cleaning out things that we didn't even know about, right? And it's happening on a governmental level, just as it's happening on a, oh, we're seeing flaws in the system, let's fix these flaws, right? And that all starts with the conversation. So I know I went really broad with that, but I wanted to kind of touch bases with why is there so much resistance at the ground level? Because that's where the most pain is,
Mm.
Mhm.
right? That's where we got our first scarrings of what we thought was love, but love. What did you say the phrase earlier? What am I? It's not what we're tolerating, but what I feel uncomfortable or what there was a phrase that you
Mhm.
used. You feel off. And that feeling off has come from so early on in our lives that we now get to clear that for the future generations. And the only way we can clear it for the future generations is if we look at it for ourselves in the now, right? And we look at what happened with our past. And yes, what happened with our parents or our, relatives or whomever raised us, because that is where we have it's our time to clean that up. It's our time to kind of start correcting narcissistic behavior in adults as well as the children that are being raised by those adults.
Mm-hmm.
And so I invite you all to check out. I'm kind of closing because we've been out here for 2 hours. I invite you all to check out the
Oh,
Angels.
right. So she just gonna jump in there. I got you. Go.
When I saw you two come on, I said we're gonna be on here for 2 hours. I knew it. I knew it.
Just do it.
I knew
Me and we've been out. We've been out. But okay, yeah. I'm trying to
Um,
uh-huh. To
yeah,
get her
she's
two
got.
books here to make sure.
Yes,
Let me get my banner together. Let me flip it. Where we at? Here we go. All
yes,
right.
yes,
So make sure that you
yes.
do give her books. And she didn't. I mean, we skimmed and scanned. She got a lot of good stuff in there, but that was not all. We really just maybe covered maybe the first 4 or 5 chapters in this book. She's got some more good stuff in here about how it shows up in variouses of relationships as well. And so, especially with like April saying, dealing with this new moon energy, which is the heart energy, like the lion, which is Leo energy, to really get into the heart of the matter and seeing who's really pulling the strings behind the curtain and really getting down to the root of things. These 2 books will definitely, this one, Love's Great Design, the devotional, is definitely a book that's going to help you pull you out of that. Oh, okay, I got an amen from, what's that, Raphael, one of the angels said, oh, it's like, you better get this book. That's the what it say. If it charm, it's divine. That's my saying. So that
It's a
means
devotional.
that you
It's
need
a
to
love.
you need to get
Mm-hmm.
this. They say you got to get this. You
That's
heard
right.
them chime in on that. So that's not my words. That's from
Thank
divine.
you.
For
And
that.
if you get, and don't forget, if you get both, if you order both books, where the camera? If you order both books, it comes with free gift. Comes with the locket with the lava stones that you can add your essential oil to. So if you order
Yeah,
both books,
yeah.
so
So
that's
make
just
sure.
my special gaze. And I put
Yes.
all these together myself. These were crafted and put together by me.
What
So
you say?
I've touched them all. I've touched every last one of them. So,
Oh yes, and it got touched. Yes, girl.
every got
Wait,
touched.
bro.
Oh,
All
oh,
been
oh!
touched.
Somebody's DM needs to go ahead and leave Divine Sunshine alone.
You know I get to start singing. I ain't gonna get to singing no dang song.
Uh,
I was just about to start singing too. Just a little love in
Right,
early in the
all right,
morning.
here we go. Please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Make sure so you can get all this good stuff because you see we're bringing on guests that are really helping us to make that connection from heaven and earth so we can be able to live our best lives and have the keys to union as well. So, all right, then we're signing out. We're getting out of here. So, April will go around. April, what's your sign out?
It is stay blessed, stay golden, and remember you were made for this golden life.
Okay, hold on a second. I'm trying to get the things, but you know I can't do that. Here, oh, there's yours. That's hers. If you want hers things. Okay, you got to bear with me now. I got to get somebody to host this thing. I can't do this two at the same time. Okay. And if you want some information from Kathy, go on, get us out of here. We got to do double thing. We got to multitask. Okay.
Well, make sure that you pick up your virtual sand bucket, empty the virtual sand out of your shoes and socks. Don't take it home. Leave it cleaner than you found it. And always wishing you your best life ever. See you real soon.
All right. And Angel, do you have a sign out or anything that you do to
Hey,
close out?
all of us are Love's Great Design. Find
Yeah.
your part. Find your part in Love's Great Design. Find
Yes.
your
All
part.
right. Beautiful, beautiful. Mine's way up here. Okay, and then also for me, as always, stay uplifted, stay motivated, stay ascended. Namaste, namago. Mwah. Love you. And we'll see you next time. Thank you so very much. Those of you who are rocked in the Sunshine Lounge, I see you. And we'll see you at the playground or another readings real soon. All right, bye.